Alrighty, what's going on, folks? It's Matt here for Darkwing Lifestyle Gaming, where we're going to be talking about Starfield, a 7 out of 10 game. I'm going to go on record and say the following about vanilla Bethesda produced games. None of them have ever been better than 7 out of 10. If you look at all the issues and Bethesda's history of games that they themselves as a studio make, I'm not talking about like Arcane and all the other like studios that are subsidiaries of them. If you look at them as a game maker, they always have the same things in common. They have weak combat. They have weak main storylines. They have bugs galore. When you make Obsidian produced games look bug fucking free, that says a lot about the quality of your actual game. And I want to emphasize vanilla experience. And this is where it's going to get a little different. Because in the past and currently, if you buy Bethesda produced games on console, barring the fixes and updates that Bethesda will claim they did, even though the community on PCs usually want to fix all Bethesda's fuck-ups because that's what they do. The reality is you are benefiting from the open nature of the PC on a lockdown piece of hardware. So your experience on console is always going to be inferior to the experience you can potentially make. And this is the one that it's not about being PC master race. This is, you can have a better experience, but you have to do it yourself. And most people aren't going to be willing to do it themselves. So for me, I grade games based solely on whether or not the vanilla experience. I'm not talking about if it's something's patched. I'm not talking about if something like the shipping product. Is it good or is it bad? And the same thing happens in every single fucking Bethesda game. Bugs, weak combat, weak main story. You can have all the fucking lore you want, but if I have no reason to give a 2-bit shit to explore it, then what good is a massively big open world sandbox? Because I will give Bethesda all the fucking credit in the world. They are fantastic at building a goddamn sandbox you can play in as anything, really, as far as a developer or publisher, as far as a content creator for mods. If you want to just explore and do all this, awesome. But as a studio making games with gameplay and story, generically it's shit. And I need to go no further than talk about the combat in fucking Skyrim. I stopped giving a shit about Skyrim about the 75th time they fucking released it. So Skyrim, I hit you. There's no visual feedback. There's nothing for it. I'm waving a goddamn stick in the air. That is generically combat in every Bethesda game. Even with that, as satisfying as that can be at times, that is a generically combat. And it is kind of boring. And tons of loop. That's the gameplay loop. Whatever. So again, like fucking, we can go on to like examples of weak story. Why is it every single ES game I start out as a fucking prisoner? Okay, cool. Is it really that hard to come up with something fucking unique and new? Like, seriously. Like, Capcom came up with a better intro for customized characters and stuff as an intro in fucking Dragon's Dogma than I get with fucking Skyrim, which is like 4 times the size of the goddamn studio. Like, give me a break. There is a fandom around like Bethesda games, and I get it, but like the fanboyism has got to stop. And if you want to talk objectively looking at games, because they're keeping their biases, and they're like, okay, check your biases and fanboyism at the door for the game, and objectively look at it. How does it play? Is it bug free? How few bugs are there? What's the main story? Is there an actual are you connecting with it? Is there any motivator for you to fucking continue? That is what matters. You grade the product for the product. And if you, on another device like the fucking Xbox, if you get the inferior version, and it's going to be inferior because you're stuck with what is provided, that is what you get, then yeah, this as a shipping product that you are playing on should be downgraded in score. So again, I'll reiterate, no Bethesda produced vanilla experience has ever nor ever will be above a fucking 7 objectively. When you subtract yourself out from all the bullshit and realize that Bethesda is great at making a sandbox, providing the tools in the sandbox, but the default castle configuration is weak, buggy, and broken as fuck. And that's the reality. What the community can do with that and that framework, that's the amazing stuff. That's what makes it amazing. That's what you should be a fan of. But yes, they should be held to a fucking higher standard. When you got outlets saying, oh, well, it's a well-polished game for a Bethesda game. That says a lot. When the most bug-free experience I've ever had with a Bethesda game was fucking New Vegas. New Vegas is the only game out of all that like lineage that you could say was Bethesda that had an interesting story. The combat for VATS was still fairly new, and the quest actually fucking mattered. And that was because it was made by Obsidian. That says a lot. When a third party can do more with your IP than you can, you might want to check what you're doing with your IP beyond building the goddamn sandbox. So, yes, Starfield is probably no more than a 7 because every other Bethesda produced vanilla experience has never been better than a 7, objectively.